We are live and living color. Peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of what I call the Reality Temple on Earth Internet Ministry. I am the gatekeeper, host of this program, known here on social media. Wherever you may find me, I am known as the Mighty One, Angel Snubbed Up 7, and I am also your soul brother, number one. All right. Technical difficulties. We're about 15 minutes late. I have to apologize. Hold on a second. I got that video playing. Got to stop that. Otherwise, there'll be some more crap going on here. All right. We have in the house our dear sister, beloved friend, and mentor, the original dark-skinned activist, Miss Rashida Strober is in the house, and I want to give her a warm welcome, Reality's Temple round of applause. Here we
go. Thank you very much.
Long time no see.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here. I'm glad to be on here this evening. Thank you.
Apologize for the technical difficulties. That's sometimes that can't be avoided.
No, it's all good. I understand. I had to figure my way around Google Hangout and YouTube and all this stuff when they keep changing stuff around.
Yeah.
That's how it is sometimes.
Well, this thing, as you know, it wouldn't even let me record.
Yeah.
So I had to start all over, do the thing all over again.
We are here, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. We're here. We're in business.
Hey, y'all.
We have limited time, so let's get down, as Gladys Knight used to say, let's get down to the real nitty-gritty, y'all.
There we go.
Yeah, here we go. Now, I heard that you have a play. I don't know. I just heard through the grapevine that you have a play, and you're going to take that play. It's a play that you wrote.
Right.
And you're going to take, and you've been doing it for a little while. You're on tour. Matter of fact, you was in New York not too long ago, I remember.
Yes, I actually wrote this play just to give a little bit of the backstory to it. You started off talking about me being the world's first dark-skinned activist. I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
It's not a game, because since I introduced dark-skinned activism to the platform of social media, which was really to the black world on social media, I've had a lot of people, and I'm just addressing it head on.
Yeah.
Rising, stealing, ripping off, copy, bootlegging, all this is my work. But you can't replace the original. I've been doing the work of dealing with the topic of dark skin consistently well before anybody talked about it on YouTube. This is very important for me to say, because it's all a part of the backstory of why I do what I do and why I'm so passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
This whole thing about dark skin activism, a lot of people will say, oh, you're making money. Oh, they're mad at me because I wrote books, which
right.
Last time I checked, anybody can write a book. Last time I checked, anybody can write a play, and they can produce the play and sell tickets. That's not a crime, but people are haters. They're mad, they're upset. So here's the thing. People ignored dark skin. It wasn't a topic. Nobody talked about it. Nobody cared about it. I am the first person, and I don't say this in an arrogant way. I say it because I have to keep setting the record straight because of the liars and dishonest people that social media has breeded. I have to keep saying it over and over. I created dark skin activism. It came out of originality, out of my own pain and suffering. Growing up as a dark skin, and I never knew that people would take a hold of the story and say, Rashida, you're crazy for talking about this, and then turn around and copy or use other people to copy what I did. But that's the world that we living in right now because of social media. But the originator, which is me, it came out of my own personal pain as a dark-skinned female. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I am naturally an introverted person. I did not say anything. I would be quiet. I would take the blackie, the spots, the uglies. Well, after I got tired of it, after a while, when I was in school, I would your ass. So you gonna be my ass, excuse my language, but that's what it was. After a long period of being abused for having dark skin. So, you know, I took it from my family. I have 5 brothers. I'm the only girl. I have a lighter skinned person in my family that's a female that got better treatment than me. Now, my brothers will probably tell you that didn't happen, but it happened. So, you know, when I look back at things like that happened to me when I was coming up, the attacks of what I now call darkism, which is dark skin discrimination, I was constantly trying to figure out a way to get help. Really, I was looking for somebody that specifically addressed dark skin discrimination. I didn't, of course, call it that at the time as a child, because when you're young, you can't really articulate what's happening to you, even though you know that this is not right. But as I grew older, I started looking for somebody to talk about only, listen to me carefully, only dark skin. So that search included me joining Black movements, Black empowerment movements like the Uhuru movement, which I was a member of for a number of years. My father, I was never a member of the Nation of Islam, but I frequented the Nation of Islam just in search of trying to get an understanding of what it was that I was experiencing as a dark-skinned person, and for somebody to articulate that. There was nobody. There was no such thing as a dark-skinned activist. And people love to try to claim that other people were dark-skinned activists, even though I actually created the very phrase dark-skinned activist. Now that it's out and I brought it to the public, people will try to say, oh, this person was a dark-skinned. No, that's not true. There was nobody that had a articulated, calculated, serious movement for dark skin. It did not exist. If it did, believe me, I'm a very honest person, intellectually honest, morally honest. I would say so. Okay. That person, that movement did not exist. And so my burning question, I had become obsessed with, why were people treating me differently for having dark skin? No one could answer the question. There was no one that was dealing with the topic. And so I said, I'm going to become literally my own savior as a dark skinned woman. I'm going to save myself. And I got the opportunity during Black History Month. They called it Harambe at St. College. This was in 1998. I got the opportunity to speak when I was an undergraduate student there. And a couple of weeks prior, I was in the store, and I still have this magazine cover. I saw a magazine cover of the dark-skinned Sudanese model named Alec Weck. This was in 1997, way before social media. I'm the originator. I have to stress that. Y'all might think that's arrogant, but years later down the line, y'all gonna begin to understand the historical significance of why I'm pointing out the factual history of how the entire lane of speaking on dark skin got started via social media. So back in 1997, I was in a grocery store. I saw Alec Weck on the cover. I ain't have a lot of money at the time. I was an undergraduate. Well, I still don't got a lot of money now, but you know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of money at the time because I was an undergraduate student. So I saw this magazine cover. Alec Weck was on the cover, super dark skin. I'm talking about pitch black. She had a shaved head, and she had on a white pant outfit, and she was just smiling. And I couldn't believe that a white mainstream publication had her on the cover of their magazine. And I bought the magazine. I still got the magazine to this day from 97. And I did a little bit of research, and I found out that this woman was being attacked for being dark skinned too. And I said, you know what? When I got the chance to speak at St. Petersburg College during African American History Month, I said, I'm going to address this. I'm going to talk about dark skin discrimination head on. And I sat and I wrote a speech. And I even talked a little bit about Lauryn Hill, because at the time, 1998, Lauryn Hill had came on the scene. And Lauryn Hill, God bless her, she was making it popular to be a dark-skinned, skinny, nappy-headed girl, if you will. She was the miseducation of Lauryn Hill had become so big at the time. So I think I talked a little bit about Lauryn Hill, but I was primarily focused on Alec Weck, because I noticed that Alec Weck was receiving the same type of blackie spot. They were saying she looked manly, she was ugly, she wasn't the representation of what a black woman should be. So she was being attacked for being dark-skinned. So I sat down that night and I wrote that speech, and I went over it. And I remember I had a 7th grade teacher. I used to participate in the Optimist Oratorical Speech Contest growing up from middle school up until high school. And I had a beautiful dark-skinned teacher who's actually one of my inspirations. She used to always tell me to practice, practice, practice. And I was just sitting there, just practicing and just going over the speech until it was just rolling off my tongue. And lo and behold, long story short, and everything I'm saying is very verifiable. You can go back to St. Petersburg College. I wound up winning this particular contest. It was a $200 and I believe $25 prize that I had to go pick up from the bookstore. And I won. And that was the birth of dark-skinned activism, because after giving that speech, I remember the same attacks and hate that I get online now. I got it back in 1998. People in the crowd, they was looking at me funny, giving me dirty looks, mumbling under their breath, what you talking about, da, 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 da. They was just giving me nasty look. So what I realize now is all of that was preparing me for what would happen with social media, although nothing prepared me for the plagiarism of the dark-skinned activists' work, still dealing with that. But the attack part prepared me for what I faced years later on social media when I brought the topic of dark skin to the internet, AKA dark-skinned activism. And so after giving that speech, what I started doing is lecturing. I started doing community activist work. I started writing my books and plays. What I did is I created a very unique lane that had not been done before me on only dark skin. I am the first author, the first actress / actor, because some people will use actor for a female as well. The first social commentator to focus my work only and exclusively on dark skin. People love to claim that it's other people, but historically and factually, you can't win that argument with me, because there's not. I had an argument, somebody started an argument with me today on social media, saying that Wesley Snipes was the first. I was like, oh, really? I didn't know Wesley Snipes was the dark-skinned activist when I actually coined and created the very phrase dark-skinned activist, but you're giving the credit to him. So people have been doing that to me. First they mock you, then they copy you. So that's what happened. When I brought dark-skinned activism online, people began mocking me. And now years later, there's so many people copying my work. I mean, they got kids copying, they've got, dark-skinned women copying, black men, everybody's copying. And I don't, I'm not gonna say I don't have a problem with it. But the thing is, you need to be honest and say who's the originator of it. I'm not flattered by people stealing and ripping off my work, because I know, looking at the history of where it's come from, nobody cared about talking about no dark skin. So let me get to the play. I was just giving you backstory on how I ended up creating and giving birth to what I call the science of dark skin activism, because that's literally what it's becoming. So what I started doing in 2006, well before social media existed, I still have the copyrights, all of that. I wrote a play it was first called The Ice Cream Lady's Dream. Then I changed it to A Dark-Skinned Girl's Triumph, the Rashida Strober story. And then a year later, or 6 months later, I can't remember the exact dates, but in 2006, and I do have the copyright, I wrote the play A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge. Now, it was called A Dark-Skinned Girl's Triumph. I'm sorry, The Revenge of the Dark-Skinned Girl. And then I switched the name to A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge. And the play is simply about the experiences of what it's like to be, what it's really like, the truth about it. Nothing fake, phony. It's the real deal on what it's like to be dark-skinned. Because again, I want people to understand, dark-skinned activism is organic. The stuff that we see now, the social media, that's people are watching me and creating derivatives of my work. My stuff came out of a real, true struggle. I had no idea in 98 that social media would exist. So I couldn't say, oh, let me create something for social media when it comes along later so I can get popping. That's not what happened. I created dark skin activism and developed it over time. And then in 2006, I wrote my play and I just started performing, because I'm also a performer, an actor. So what I decided to do is use my God-given skills and talents to change the world, to talk about what I'm feeling in terms of being a human being in the world, and to express it through art, to express it through oratory, to express it through writing. And it turned into me writing more books on dark skin than anybody in the world, me creating the first platform in history for dark skin, me introducing the topic of because dark skin wasn't even a relevant topic. And if we are honest with ourselves, we know that that is the truth. People like to point out Spike Lee's movie. That's not dark skin activism. That's dealing with a topic briefly in a movie for entertainment and moving on. I've been consistent from 98 all the way up into the present, consistently dealing with the issues of dark skin. And I'm the first person to do so. And so a part of that is A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge, which is my play that I have been performing for years, well before any social media. Let me tell you, if social media became defunct the day of tomorrow, I would still be performing A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge. I started performing it back in 2006, and I created what I call the Dark-Skinned Activist Tour. And it basically consists of me performing A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge and doing what I have been doing for years called darkism talks, where I'll go and I'll perform the play. It's a one-woman show. I play 5 different dark-skinned characters from different socioeconomic backgrounds. After the play is over with, people always wanted to talk to me. So I would do an audience talk back about the issues discussed in the play. And so that's what the play is all about. And it's for the first time, I'm going to be doing a live stream pay-per-view version of this play that I've been doing for years, because people would say to me after social media came along and they knew that I was performing, they would say, well, why don't you live stream this so that we can see the play? And it took me a while, because I am a self-producing artist. It took me a while to figure out how to get that done and to, of course, get the funding. Funding is always a problem, an issue for a self-producing artist. So to put all that together, and now I have the play coming up on Saturday, November 17th, and anybody anywhere in the world, they can watch the play. All they got to do is purchase the live stream ticket, the live stream pay-per-view ticket at my website, which is darkskinnedactivist.com. So that's the backstory of A Dark-Skinned Woman's Revenge.
All righty then. That was a lot to take in, sister. You really went through a whole lot of history there, 1998 to the present time.
It's a lot. It's more than that even.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, if things go well, I plan on being there to see you live.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I plan to bring some guests too, hopefully, to see you.
I really appreciate that.
And I think it's going to be very, very interesting and very enjoyable. And for those of you who are out there in TV land, if you are in the Atlanta area, November the 17th, 2018, in the description box, probably not right now, but I will put in the description box the link to the sister's website, where she has all the information that we need in order to purchase these tickets live in Atlanta. Also, if you can't be in Atlanta, you can get those tickets on that site and purchase the pay-per-view. So we will do that. Yes, but I know that what you're saying, and it's dear to your heart about being the original person, the original one, the original creator of dark-skinned activism. And well, before I continue, let me go to the chat room. We got a question here from our one of our favorite YouTubers, Syrian Jew, and they want to ask you a question. What's your goal for dark-skinned women? What's your goal?
Well, the main goal, dark skin. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit again, because like you were saying, it's a lot of history.
Yeah.
The organic, raw, real, true origin of dark skin activism started with me being picked on by black males, calling me ugly, black and ugly.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it came from. So I've always had a burning desire, and I know a lot of criticism, but all I can do is be honest and tell people what it is. I always had a burning desire to gain the approval of the black man. So a large part of dark skin activism's goal is to gain the approval of the black man in regards to having black men see dark skinned women as beautiful. Obviously, it started with me wanting to get the same black men or black young males at that time in schools that were calling me ugly, wishing in my head that they would see me as beautiful. So that carried over into, I wish that in general, Black men would see dark-skinned women as beautiful. As I grew up, like I said, with Alec Weck, when I researched her, I found out that she was under attack as well. Some of the same attacks that I did. So in my mind, the mission has always been to get Black men to see dark-skinned women as beautiful. And the end goal is nationhood, building a nation. In my mind, marriage and nationhood. That's what it all boils down to for me. That's one of the chief goals. And that goal goes hand in hand with economics. To bring dark-skinned people worldwide on the same level economically as their non-dark-skinned peers. So another element of dark-skinned activism that people, they always want to argue with me and say, oh, you don't like light-skinned people, which is absolutely ridiculous. But they're not seeing the bigger picture here. The bigger picture is socioeconomic. Okay. When you look around the world and you see that the dark-skinned people, the darkest people of the world, are the ones that are suffering the most economically, socially, and politically, that's a problem. That's called global darkism. That's what I call it. Global, I call it, there's another subdivision of that. Systemic economic darkism. All we got to do, if you don't believe me, and if you're an honest person, an ethical, honest, moral, upright person, look at the continent of Africa, and clearly you can see that Africa it's not in a good economic state. It has the resources there, but there's a problem when we get down to the question of why isn't Africa on par economically with its non-dark-skinned counterparts around the world. So we have to solve those political and economic issues. And in my book, because the people are clearly dark-skinned, it's all a part of darkism. So that's the bigger picture in terms of looking at it from a global perspective.
Could I ask Rashida's a question? Okay, I understand, like the platform of darkism, but okay, I have this question. Every light-skinned offspring is produced by a dark-skinned person. Would I be correct in making that analysis?
That's correct.
Okay. So, what's your thoughts on this? Like with, all of these, mixed people. I've listened a lot to you when you talk about, I think you talked about like Lil Wayne, Kendrick, Lamar, and how they praise these, mixed women, the Paula Pattons, and you're very beautiful to me. So I personally don't understand how anybody could ever, how you could ever have any type of self-esteem issues. You're beautiful.
Well, thank you. I did and I do. It's a result.
I don't understand it.
But to answer, well, let me deal with the question of biracial people. I'm hoping that I'm answering your question. If I'm not, you could just cut in and interrupt me. Biracial people are not Black. Let me just state that from the outset. In my head, biracial people are not Black. Stating that a biracial person is not Black is not, I'm not insulting them. If they feel like they're insulted, then they are feeling insulted by what is the truth. It's not Rashida, I'm telling the truth. So for example, I like to use Barack Obama because people have erroneously called him the first Black president. He's not the first Black president. He's the first mixed race president. He is as much white as he is Black. His mother is white, which is a fact. His father is Black, which is a fact. He's a mixed race biracial man. And that's not an insult. It's like 1 + 1 is 2. That's not an insult. That's just the facts. But some people will listen to me say, oh, a person that is biracial is not Black. And that to them, they'll say, oh, you bashing that person. Bashing that person is saying something like, you ugly, no good, da 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 da. And I've never done that because I don't need to do that. Unless that person that's different from their character. If they have bad character and they've done something bad, then that's a totally different thing. But saying that a biracial person is biracial and not Black is not insulting them. It's simply to state the truth. I don't have a problem with biracial people in and of themselves being a human being, because that wouldn't make any sense. What I have a problem with, what I'm attacking, is privilege and maltreatment of dark-skinned people.
Yes,
it's not even, honestly, it's not about non-dark-skinned people. It's not even about them, but somehow they insert themselves into a conversation about dark-skin discrimination. You know, it happens all the time. It's actually not about them. So when I talked about, for example, let me get on Kendrick Lamar. Let me deal with that. You mentioned Kendrick Lamar. Lil Wayne is, I mean, he's just a straight up Kendrick Lamar. He kind of slick with his. He's not coming out directly attacking dark skin. He ain't doing that. Lil Wayne, he directly attacks dark skinned women. I have no love for him in that regard. He's a self-hater, definitely. Kendrick Lamar, stating that I have an issue with Kendrick Lamar's dating and marriage choice is about Kendrick Lamar more than it's about, in my head, and I can only tell you what's in my head, and people can take my comments and interpret it as they will, but I'm telling you what it is, what I was thinking. It's not about the woman, because the man is ultimately going to choose and select who they're going to be with. So it's about the man and his choice. Again, let me get back to dark skin activism and why I really started it. It was about gaining the approval of the black man. Has nothing, never had anything to do with the women. I mean, no shade to the women. I'm just keeping it real here. This is the reconciliation between me and these, in my head, I can see these black boys in school that I was having it out with, who was calling me black and ugly on a day-to-day basis.